Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the source material that paints literally one of the most vivid, electrifying scenes in all of ancient literature. I mean, picture this. You're standing on the vast, dusty plains of Kurukshetra. On one side, a massive, seemingly endless army. On the other side, another formidable force. We're talking millions of men, countless chariots, and absolute legendary warriors, all facing off, frozen in those tense, heart-pounding moments just before a devastating, world-altering war begins. But what we're going to look at today isn't the physical clash of weapons. No, we're going to look at the clash of minds. Okay, let's dive into this because this really gets at our central question today. How do you win a war before a single weapon is even swung? When we analyze the opening text of the Bhagavad Gita, we actually uncover a fascinating masterclass in military psychology. The source material reveals that battles aren't just won with physical strength or, superior numbers. They are fundamentally decided in the minds of the combatants. It's all about perception, confidence, fear, and morale.
So let's set the stage. Section 1, the heroes of Kurukshetra.
Now, what's really interesting about this matchup is how the commander of the Kuru army, Duryodhana, sizes up his opposition. I mean, just look at the sheer Hall of Fame level of power here. We're basically seeing his mental math unfold in real time. On one hand, Duryodhana acknowledges the mighty chariot fighters of the Pandavas, heroes like Drishtikatu, Chekatana, and the sons of Draupadi. But then he quickly pivots to his own side. He lists out his heavy hitters, grandfather Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama. By laying out these names, the text shows us a commander who is actively trying to calculate the odds. He's weighing the legendary status of his enemies right against the legendary status of his own men.
And notice the specific traits he lists for his captains. He isn't just reciting a roster here. He is totally hyping himself up. He describes them as ever victorious, masters of military science, and heavily armed. But look at that last point. It is absolutely crucial. He notes that men like Jayadratha and Salya are prepared to lay down their lives for his sake. According to the text, this is Duryodhana building his own internal confidence. He's trying to reassure himself that his men are 100% committed to his cause, even to the point of death. Honestly, it's a textbook psychological defense mechanism when you're facing immense, crushing pressure.
Which brings us to Section 2, weighing the armies.
Now that he's listed the players, we really get to see Duryodhana's internal mental game. Look at how he contrasts the two forces. He postures to his teacher that his own Kuru army is immeasurable, primarily because it's protected by their ancient, incredibly experienced general Bhishma. Conversely, he calls the Pandava army limited because they're protected by Bhima, who he views as far less experienced. On the surface, right, this looks like supreme confidence. He's basically telling his inner circle, hey, we have the numbers, we have the better general, they have nothing. But the source material tells us there's a pretty massive crack in this facade.
And here is the core psychological divide. Why is Duryodhana so hyper-focused on comparing Bhishma and Bhima? Well, because he is secretly terrified of Bhima. The texts reveal that Duryodhana knows, deep down in his bones, that if he's going to die in this war, it will be at the hands of Bhima. So, what does a leader do when they're secretly paralyzed by a specific fear? They overcompensate, big time. Duryodhana leans entirely on grandfather Bhishma. He constructs this mental safety blanket, convincing himself that as long as Bhishma is there, Bhima can't touch him. His entire projection of victory is built on this really precarious psychological reliance. Let's explore how he handles this in Section 3, the psychology of leadership. Knowing just how insecure Duryodhana actually is, we now get to see how he manages his army's morale using, diplomacy. He orders his men into a phalanx, which is a tightly packed, highly strategic military formation. But his instructions here are deeply diplomatic. He publicly praises grandfather Bhishma as their greatest hero, giving him the ultimate respect. But simultaneously, he commands all his other captains to stay at their strategic points to protect the old general from all sides. It's kind of brilliant. He's flattering Bhishma to keep him motivated while subtly warning his army that if their elderly commander gets isolated and falls, the whole thing falls apart. He's managing massive egos and intricate battlefield tactics in the exact same breath. But here is Duryodhana's ultimate gamble, and it's a huge one. You see, Bhishma and another great general, Drona, actually have deep familial and student ties to the enemy, the Pandavas. Duryodhana is banking on the hope that these generals will just abandon their past affection. He remembers a tragic gambling match where the Pandava's wife, Draupadi, was humiliated, and these great generals basically stood by and said nothing. Duryodhana is hoping that same cold detachment holds true today. He needs them to fight without their hearts getting in the way, which, let's be honest, is a massive psychological variable to carry into a war.
All right, Let's shift gears. Section 4. The Battle of Sounds. Up until now, the warfare has been internal thoughts, calculations, whispers. To understand how the tension finally snaps, we need to understand the conch shell. In ancient warfare, this wasn't just some musical instrument, it was a devastating tool for morale. Blown loudly, its piercing, roaring vibration could actually disorient an unprepared enemy line. It was used to incite cheerfulness in your own ranks, signal complex troop movements, or officially declare the explosive start of a battle.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because the sensory details in the text are just incredible here. First, Grandfather Bhishma sees Duryodhana's anxiety and blows his conch shell, creating a sound that roars like a lion, basically just to cheer his grandson up. But this triggers a massive chain reaction. Suddenly, bugles, trumpets, drums, and horns all erupt simultaneously from the Kuru side, creating this chaotic, tumultuous cacophony. And then, from the other side of the battlefield comes the response. Lord Krishna and the warrior Arjuna sound their own counterblast.
When we compare these two sounds side by side, the source material gives us a brilliant psychological contrast. On one side, we have Bhishma's roar. It's loud, sure, but the text notes it's blown out of natural compassion and duty. Think about it. Bhishma actually knows the Kurus have no chance of winning because the divine is on the other side. He blows his horn out of pity just to give his depressed grandson a fleeting moment of joy. But on the other side, Krishna and Arjuna's blast is described entirely differently. Theirs is a transcendental sound that instantly shatters the enemy's morale.
So the crucial point here is this word transcendental. This means it is entirely beyond ordinary physical limits. While Duryodhana was relying on earthly numbers, weapons, and formations, the blast from Krishna and Arjuna shifts the paradigm entirely to the spiritual and divine. The text explicitly explains that this specific sound indicated there was absolutely no hope of victory for Duryodhana's side. In an instant, that one transcendental blast completely strips away all of Duryodhana's earlier bravado and overcompensation. The momentum is completely flipped.
The text then really stacks the deck, providing striking visual metaphors that guarantee the Pandavas' victory before a single arrow is even fired. I mean, they are stationed on a magnificent chariot drawn by white horses. And this wasn't just any chariot, it was donated by Agni, the fire god, meaning it was capable of conquering all sides across all worlds. Plus, they are accompanied by Lord Krishna himself. And as the source notes, wherever Krishna is, the goddess of fortune is naturally right there alongside him.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate takeaway of this ancient military psychology. You can have the largest army, you can have the most experienced generals, and you can organize the absolute perfect phalanx. But according to the text, true victory and true fortune don't align with mere physical strength or anxious overcompensation. They align with the divine. The very presence of these figures on the Pandava side renders Duryodhana's careful, frantic calculations completely irrelevant.
So what you should really take away from all this is that the battle of Kurukshetra was won and lost in the sizing up. Duryodhana's immense numbers meant nothing against the unshakable, transcendental confidence of his opponents. His reliance on external strength was just a mask for his internal fear, while the Pandavas' power radiated from an undeniable, divine inner source. The outcome literally was decided before the first weapon was ever swung.
Which leaves us with a fascinating thought to end on. As you navigate the conflicts and challenges in your own life, look at the source of your confidence. In the face of overwhelming odds, what truly determines the outcome of your own battles? Is it the perceived strength and numbers you gather around you, or is it an unshakable inner conviction? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you on the next one.